Meeting has come to order. The attorney will give us an explanation of the closed session, please.
Okay, the board did meet in closed session on two items. One was to confer with its real property negotiator. Action will be taken in open session on that, and also to confer with legal counsel regarding two items of litigation, two condemnation actions, and no action was taken on that.
The first order of business with the regular agenda is agenda approval.
Move approval of the agenda.
It's been moved and seconded that the agenda approval. Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Public comment on matters not on the agenda. Kim McDonald.
She's got the baby that went outside.
Maybe went outside.
Jimmy, that's right. Please, please. Say hi. Say hi. Okay. Sorry about this.
That's no
He's got a newborn brother at home, and so he came and gave his cold to me. I just wanted to say that the appraisal has come back on the additional 2,000 square feet of my house. And I just find it hard to take that the way the process is, and I've talked to some people, that there's no way that the offer that comes in is going to be anything but making us go to court. And it's just a disappointment. I know you guys tried to give us a decent offer, and I say thank you, but it's just pathetic, you know, the things that are coming across to the property owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Second, third item on the approval of the February the 12th, 2015 minutes.
Move approval of the minutes.
I will second that.
Been moved and seconded that the February the 12th, 2015 minutes be approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Review of monthly year-to-date revenue and expenses.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. This cash flow report is for January 2015, and we started the month with a agency balance of $2.3 million. We received the first installment of the secured flood assessment. It came in at a little over $2 million, which represents about a 5% increase over the previous year. The additional increase over the 2% increase approved by the board reflects the adjustments to the flood assessment exercise that we did earlier last year. We also received a reimbursement payment for the work on the RFMP for $140,000. Total revenue for the month then was about $2.2 million. On the expenditure side, most expenses were associated with the Southport project, $371,000. We also had deposits for the Fat Fong cases on the I Street project for $20-something thousand, and also for work on the RFMP at $28,000. There are other cleanup costs on the closeout for the Rivers projects and FEMA support and some other work, but the total work came out to about $479,000 for the month expended, including administrative costs. No other revenues received or is parked in the 257 funds, and the balance at the end of the month was a little over $10 million. That's the end of the report.
Good, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Consent agenda. Consideration of Resolution 15-0301 regarding the acquisition of real property rights for property owners affected by the Southport EIP.
Well, we would take those all as
Pardon?
one unless we want to
Well,
discuss one.
there's one in here we want to,
Item 6?
item number 6, we want to talk about that. Nothing further on 150301, so.
I think Bill's asking that item 6 be set aside for a discussion, is that what you're?
No, I think we want to,
Question on it, or?
I think there's a question on it, and
The way to do that, Bill, is to remove 6 from the consent agenda, take it up separately, and if you want to proceed with the balance of the consent agenda, you can do that on motion.
Yeah, you can, but I'll make the motion.
okay.
That 6 be removed from the consent agenda, and that the other items be approved on consent?
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded that it be, item number 6 be removed from the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment,
So do we want to discuss item 6?
yeah,
Have a
item
question to
6.
staff?
Let me find it here. On item number 6, consideration of contract amendment number 4 with SCS Engineering for time oil recommendation services, remediation services in support for the Sacramento River Southport Early Implement Project. We need a motion on this particular one at this time.
Well, do you want staff to
Yeah,
discuss it, or do you have a
staff
particular
could
question?
want to review it or anything.
So I haven't prepared anything formally for this agenda item. But the purpose of this amendment is to provide the necessary funds that would be used to develop the plans and go out to bid to remediate the Time Oil site located at the base of Linden Road. The budget scope would provide oversight to that whole process, oversight to the actual remediation work at the site, and then includes quarterly monitoring, which would normally be is a normal requirement of the Regional Quality Board, to show that you have declining levels of contaminants that could cause harm to humans or other ecological features. So that's the intention of the contract amendment. We feel that we brought this before you quickly, primarily because we'd like to make sure that we can stay on a construction schedule. I can tell you that we have a working group dealing directly with this site. We are working with an attorney to try to engage Time Oil in taking responsibility for, financial responsibility for the cleanup. And that's kind of where we are today.
Thank you.
Is that enough?
Well, I got just the scope of this work and the cost. Is this the outer limits of it? Can it, as the process goes, would you anticipate that there could be some savings below the, $430,000 estimate, or?
So Yes, it's potential that there are other alternatives that we would not have to, this particular contract amendment focuses on WSAFCA taking a lead role in the remediation of this project. Another path that we're exploring, and this really has to do with the engagement of Time Oil Company, who we consider to be the responsible party, in funding the remediation and/or taking it on as a project themselves. That obviously has ramifications to the overall project, and which is why we have a small team that has design represented, program management represented, WSAFCA, and the environmental consultant. So yes, it's potential that we will not have to utilize all of this money, maybe very little of it, to proceed forward. But at this point, given the timing, given how we want to proceed with our construction timing, we felt that it was prudent to bring you forth this, this contract amendment today.
I'll make a motion that we approve item 6.
I have one question. Under the budget process that we have, are there $500,000 in Fund 870?
Yes, 870's got about $10 million in it right now.
Because I didn't see this.
And we have another
Budget from-
true-up payment in the works with the state, and we expect, a funding agreement sometime later this year, too, which will bring additional funding into the program.
I'll second Tom's motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on item number 6 be approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The regular agenda, item number 9, project update.
Morning, Mr. President, members of the board. I'll just go over a few of the monthly report items of significance under finance, which was not contained in the progress report, but I wanted to report out on the 2015 series bonds that was authorized by the board. Last week, we completed, actually 2 weeks ago, we completed rating agency reviews, 2 of them, one with Standard & Poor's and the other with the Fitch Rating Company. And last week, we received reports back on their rating of the agency. We received an A+ from Standard & Poor's and AA- from Fitch, and we were rated strong and in good standing. And the sale of the bonds are scheduled for next week, March 17th. And the proceeds from those bonds available to us hopefully early in April.
Luck of the Irish, let's,
Yeah. For the Southport project under environmental permits, since last we met, the decision was made by the team in working in coordination with the Army Corps of Engineers to split the BO and obtain a separate BO for the Southport project from National Marine Fisheries Service. It appears that it's going to take some time to work through the issues with NIMS to come to a resolution on the BO for the GRR. So we did not want to jeopardize the schedule for the Southport project. So last week, we made the decision and gave direction to the Corps to request a separate BO from NIMS. We actually received that draft BO for comment yesterday, and we expect a fairly quick turnaround between our team and the Corps to provide comments back to NIMS. And we're hopeful that we'll have a final BO by the 1st of April. Once that BO is complete, then that allows Corps Division to complete their review of the final EIS and then go out for the 30-day review period to complete the NEPA process. And of course, that all plays into processing our 408 application with headquarters. So the decision and the quick turnaround was a good decision, and the quick turnaround is going to help us keep on schedule, so I'm glad we did it. Real estate services in support of Southport, I think you may be aware of it, the property closed escrow for the Washington Unified School District. Also of note, staff released a request for proposal at the end of February for construction management inspection services, quality assurance testing, quality assurance survey for the levee component of the Southport project. Those proposals are due basically the end of March. We hope to bring an item before you probably in May, by the time we go through the review process, to get them on board to assist with the 90% review of the 90% plans and specifications in May. And then we plan to solicit or release a request for proposals for construction management inspection services to support the Village Parkway, the roadway improvements in the later part of March, which will then, support those efforts at in the fall of this year. For the general reevaluation report, the Civil Works Review Board has been scheduled for July. I think I have June here in the report, so it's now scheduled in July. The rest of the milestones remain the same. Let me back up. The agency decision milestone is scheduled for March 24th, so next, in 2 weeks. And the Civil Works the Civil Works Review Board in July. And then like I mentioned, the NIMS BO will now have a separate one for the GRR. And so once we get through the completion of, and we still haven't received the draft GRR BO from NIMS, we anticipate that within the next month. And we'll work with NIMS and the Corps to come to resolution on that BO as quickly as possible. That BO is probably the critical milestone now for the GRR schedule. Without that, we cannot pass we cannot get to the Civil Works Review Board without that. So, and there's some lead time to get there, to finalize the EIS and all of that for the GRR. So we're working real diligently with the Corps, once we receive that draft BO, to come to resolution with NIMS as quickly as possible. On the Rivers Erosion site, we were informed by the Corps that a 408 permit would be required because of some of the features that are being installed waterside as a requirement of NIMS. We completed the package and submitted that to the Central Valley Flood Protection Board on March 4th for processing. We expect a relatively quick turnaround time. We have met with Corps staff on our package. It will require an action by the Central Valley Flood Protection Board to submit the official request to the Corps, but the Corps anticipates a very quick turnaround time. It should not impact our ability to go to construction on that project later this year.
Greg, was there a reason why that permitting wasn't included in the scope of the original project, or we just didn't know what was going to happen, or?
There's new 408 guidance that was just implemented by the Corps for any projects after July of 2014. This falls under that new guidance. And because the in-stream woody vegetation features of the project are outside the normal O&M practices, that triggers the need for a 408. It's not a 408 that's going to have to go to division at headquarters. It's something that can be processed at district, but it's just a little bit more of a laborious process.
But was this scope of work anticipated when the levee improvements were done? Or was this?
No, and neither was the in-stream woody vegetation as part of the original plans. That was added as a requirement of the NIMS review of the project.
Okay.
So the 408, in essence, was triggered by NIMS.
So the GRR is still on track?
Still on track to be Chief's report this year, and yes.
Finalization in 2016?
Final of the report in 2015.
I mean 15.
And then hopefully congressional authorization with the next WRDA.
Yeah, well, that depends on the WRDA, right?
Right. So something to report on the Sac Bank setback levee project, the Corrs project just south of the Barge Canal. We are scheduled to reopen the road tomorrow afternoon. So those roadway deficiencies and the improvements needed to bring those into compliance were completed last week. The striping's been completed, and so we're scheduled to reopen that roadway tomorrow afternoon. Under public relations, I wanted to report out that the winners of the poster contest that was conducted during Flood Preparedness Week were honored at the March 4th council meeting. One winner from each of the grades 4, 5, and 6 were presented with a certificate of achievement and got to speak briefly about their poster and their participation in the contest. If you haven't seen it, I suggest watching the council video and watch the kids up in front of the podium. And then also, we've, staff, along with Crocker and Crocker, met with a representative from River City High School to begin preparations for this year's flood preparedness activities. So we'd like to do something in concert with the high school this year, as well as the elementary schools like we have done for the last couple of years. So we're working on a plan to include them in some of our activities. On emergency preparedness, just as a reminder, we're.
Wait just a second.
Oh,
You
sorry.
skipped one that's very important.
Uh-huh.
The flood insurance. I don't know about anybody else, but my flood insurance went up 75% this year, and I can't find out why. Who do I call? Who do I,
We can talk about that after the meeting if you'd like.
okay?
We'll get you some numbers for somebody to call and inquire as to why that happened. On flood preparedness, we have the awarded grant, which I'm calling round one funding from the state, where we'll be completing our flood emergency response plan update, including new flood static maps and the dynamic mapping tool. We are going to be scheduling demonstrations updates of where we are with the plan, as well as demonstrations of that dynamic mapping tool to various different stakeholders. We'd like to bring that presentation also to the board next month as part of that stakeholder outreach. The draft plan should be completed in October of this year, and we'll be using that plan in conjunction with a flood EOC exercise that we plan to conduct during California Flood Preparedness Week. We have been discussing that with our state partners and core partners for a very robust exercise this fall. So that's going to be one of the highlights of our Flood Preparedness Week activities. And we have not heard yet back on the Round 2 grant, which would, if awarded, we would look at the feasibility of a study for a potentially emergency closure operations of the Deepwater Ship Channel to protect the city from a high water event that might come up the ship channel.
We're talking some kind of physical structure?
Yeah, I think, again, if awarded, it would look at the feasibility of several different options that might be employed, whether it be a physical structure or just a lot of dirt.
Yeah.
But we'll look at the feasibility of something.
Once it's in, it's physical.
Yeah. The idea being that it could also be removed again, once the event was over.
Is this Garamendi's? No.
No. This is
This is
strictly.
DWR?
It's a grant from DWR to allow us to look at the feasibility of an emergency response operation. And that concludes my updates.
On the regional flood management, you're asking for an additional $500,000 in funding. The bulk of that comes from the state, is that correct?
All of it comes from the state.
All of it comes from the state.
Yes, we actually executed that
We
amendment.
manage the thing.
Yes, we managed the funding, yes.
How come we don't get a report on what these guys were doing with $500,000?
You will get a report.
We haven't in the past.
We have reported out on what we've been doing for the regional plan activities, which culminated last year in the finalization of that plan. This is additional money that was just awarded and just authorized by you last month to receive this. In order for us to receive the programming of the money, we need to develop a work plan. That work plan is under development. And so until they buy off on our work plan or approve the work plan, I don't have activities that we're going to be undertaking to report to you. So, but I will in future months.
All right, thank you.
No, I'm fine.
Thank you very much. Informational items. Meeting's adjourned.